Some months ago now, I published a couple of videos on YouTube, and they were, I think the titles of them had to do with a sugar time journey. What the stories were about was a journey that I was taking in my efforts to try to contain and suppress my tendency to become a stage 2 diabetic. Having said all that, I gave a report on the outcomes of my effort, which were pretty successful. I was able to actually decrease my A1C value for the first time in over 7 years. I went from about a 6.1 to a 5.7. So I'm right on the verge. More importantly, some of my other blood chemistry came back good. So I felt pretty confident about that. And I issued a report. It was a so-so report on my impressions about the value of getting a monitor. The main reason I think it's valuable is that you end up learning a lot, and you learn a lot about your own metabolism. And I said at the time I was going to report on the outcomes after I went to my doctor's visit, because part of the reason for doing this is I wanted to be able to give my doctor some good information and some comprehensive information on my own individual profile. So that's what I did, right? I said I was going to come back and give a final report. Well, you know what? I didn't. And one of my viewers wrote to me and said, "Hey, I've been waiting for that final report. What the hell happened?" Right? And I apologize for the delay, but there was some reason. One of them was the fact that as I began to learn more about the body and metabolism in particular, I came to realize that there's a lot of information about stage 2 diabetes, about continuous glucose monitors, about how to get your A1C down, how to control your blood sugar level. And you really have to weed through it, because some of it is just nothing more than product propaganda for one thing or another. But there are some people out there that are doing a fairly excellent job of explaining what is going on in your body. So after I read and listened to those documentaries, what I decided to do is do a little bit more research on my own data and my numbers, and to really begin to understand the dynamic interaction between insulin and blood sugar levels and absorption and cell metabolism and all that good stuff. Now, I'm not a doctor, right? But I found it fascinating because the body is such a miraculous device. It goes, almost all of your body has evolved to an ability to achieve homeostasis. In other words, keeping everything in a certain range of condition, your temperature, everything, your blood sugar level, and etc. And when your pancreas tries to generate insulin to be able to maintain a uniform glucose level, it's one of those, it's an example of one of those miraculous metabolic mechanisms. Now, this isn't going to be a video about all of that, but it's going to be something that I learned that accounted for the pause. And that is, I noticed something in my own workups, and from what I could see from some of the others, that my fasting blood glucose level, after I've not eaten anything, is still holding on the high side. It's not in the normal range. I started to wonder why I couldn't get that number down. And because I watched my food patterns and my food intake, and I learned the standard deviations, how my blood sugar would raise when I would consume foods and what types of foods, how it would come down. And it actually was performing fairly well. It was well within what I would consider a normal range. But nonetheless, my fasting level was down. And what I drew from that experience that I'm still talking with my doctors about is I believe that's because over time, my pancreas and the insulin it have not been able to keep up. So I'm discharging insulin, and the significant reason that I can account for having a higher blood glucose level is I'm demanding more insulin. So there's more insulin in my bloodstream and consequently throughout my body. Now I became interested in what are the impacts of insulin, excess insulin, and that led me into inflammation. And it's particularly, insulin and sugar both are required for cell metabolism, especially in your brain and your control center. But if you carry an excess amount of insulin in your brain, inside your brain tissues, it causes there's enough data out there to convince me it causes inflammation, a low-grade inflammation. And that inflammation begins to affect how your brain functions. And I've seen and heard of cases where people who are in a situation like this, if you're over time having inflammation in the neural networks in your brain, it can cause all kinds of different aberrations, right? And so that's why I paused, because I got in over my skis and I didn't want to put out any more information until I got a better handle on it. And I felt convinced it was a story worth telling. And I'm not finished writing that story yet. So there's probably going to be another pause because I'm working on it now. I'm working on the aspects of exercise, of diet. The biggest thing I've done that has really helped is I've eliminated basically any highly processed food. I don't eat any chips anymore. I don't eat any flour, natural flour. I don't eat anything that's been refined and can easily break down the minute you start to ingest it and cause sugar spikes in your system. So I've just gone to a whole food. If it isn't in a package and it's whole food and I can make it up, that's what I'm eating. And my weight's come down some. I've been not trying to lose weight, but it's come down. I've kind of leaned more toward a little bit more in the way of meats and fats than I had before. So my diet's relatively balanced, but I'm sort of in that on that keto side. I'm leaning more toward protein and fat. And for me, that seems to be working, especially if I order my intake at a meal. If I eat my protein first or consume some fat or fiber, so just eat a couple sticks of celery or something like that, I can really modulate the spikes. And if I am able to take a walk right after a large meal, even if it's only for a 10 or 15-minute walk, those things are extremely valuable. And I'd encourage everyone to try those things out. I'm not the first one to suggest those. There's a lot out there about that, but I verified it for myself. And the glucose monitor helped me. I don't think you need it, but if you're kind of a geek and you're interested in getting data and learning about your metabolic responses, I don't know of any other way to do it except this twist. Measuring your insulin level, in my unprofessional view, is more important. It's also more difficult. It's costly. Some insurance policies won't cover it, but that's what you really need to look at, in my humble opinion. It's how that insulin, what dosage level is being required to keep your blood sugar in range. And if you're going all over the place and it's not in control, you're essentially pumping insulin. And if you're not a type 1 where you can't manufacture it, but you're putting your pancreas in all other cases in overdrive. I think it just breaks down. And the older you get, the more broken it gets, the more mileage you got on it. So I know this is a bit of a ramble, but I wanted to accomplish these things. I wanted to tell you that yes, my outcomes were successful. I'm very happy with the result. That's one. I wanted to respond to my viewer and apologize for being late. And I wanted to tell him the main things I'm doing now are I'm doing a finger prick test in the morning, and I'm tracking my actual blood sugar level with a glucometer so I can measure the blood glucose directly, and I'm recording it. And I'm not doing it every day or every 5 minutes or after every meal. I'm just trying to understand if that fasting level is pretty static or it goes down or up, and I'm doing it with a direct measurement because I found that the over-the-counter glucose monitors that are out there, yeah, they do pretty well, but I don't trust their accuracy. And their reliability for giving you really good numbers. They'll track trends fairly well, and that's what I used them for. So I will, when I do a little bit more work, I want to report on what I'm finding about insulin, about inflammation, about its relation to dementia, about its relation to other aspects of your behavior when you're carrying an excess of insulin in your system. And that takes a little bit more effort than I've been able to put in it during the last couple of months. I'm going to conclude now and stay tuned. Probably sometime next year, I'll have a little bit more to say about this. So if you're interested, drop your comments down there. Let me know what you're finding. Let me know what you're doing. Almost everyone faces an issue like this, especially in the fourth act of your journey, right? And so I'd be really interested in knowing, and I'm sure the audience that's listening to this would also enjoy your comments. So please do go ahead, drop them in the comment section below. And please, if you get a chance, feel free to subscribe. There's no promotion here. I'm just trying to share stories of about some health and information that I hope help you. And that's all I want to achieve. So that being said, goodbye for now and have a great day. Every day is special, and it's your turn to make some hope and share it with somebody else. Thanks a bunch.